You're about to learn how you can go cruising for free. Hi, I'm Gary Bembridge, and this is another of my tips for travelers. I'm about to share with you 9 ways that you could cruise for free. Now, most of them are very practical and easy to do. Some of them are perhaps a little bit more outlandish. However, you're likely to find a number of ways that you could go cruising for free. Well, the first way and most obvious way, of course, is to become a cruise line cruise member, salaried cruise member. Of course, this is not for everybody because you're going to have to commit to going between 3 months, 6 months, or in some cases even 9 months contracts where you're working 7 days a week, very long hours. However, if that appeals for you as a way to cruise for free and in fact get paid for cruising, a couple of things to bear in mind. If you want to see a lot of the ports, do not look for jobs which are going to keep you on board when you're in port. So the secret is look for jobs which are in departments and functions that are closed when you're in port. So for example, the shops and the casino, they have to close when in port. Another great department to be in is in the entertainment department. So if you're one of the singers and dancers in one of the production shows, whilst they do rehearse some days in port days, you'll often find when you're out in ports, you'll see the dancers and the singers out and about exploring the ports. So that's another great role to consider if you have those talents. The second thing to consider is if you've got any special skills or talents, is to look at one of those roles which are not actually paid to go on cruises, but get free cruises. So some of the examples, for example, are the guest speakers on board, perhaps a gentleman dance host, which some cruise ships have, or perhaps if you're going to run some sort of craft workshops, perhaps run bridge classes, or even some of the digital workshops. A lot of those roles, whilst they're not paid, you do get free cruising, and you're normally allowed in some of those roles to bring up a partner along as well. The other thing to do, of course, if you're a professional singer, dancer, comedian, juggler, or have some novelty act, is to become a guest entertainer. Guest entertainers are employed constantly by every single cruise line. Every single week they'll have a number of guest entertainers on board. Another great way to cruise for free is to look at being loyal to a cruise line. Pretty much every single cruise line has a loyalty program. And if you want to cruise for free, if you choose the right cruise line, as you amass points and nights on board, they can qualify for either discounts or completely free cruises. Now, it's very important that you choose the right cruise line if that's the route you want to go. So, for example, I've found that most of the Carnival Corporation cruise lines, their loyalty programs do not include free cruises. So things like Cunard, Princess, Costa. However, if you take a look at the Royal Caribbean group of cruise lines, so Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Azamara, Silversea, their loyalty programs, certainly at the time of recording, all as you build points lead to free cruises. Also Norwegian Cruise Lines, certainly at the time of recording, also you can build up to free cruises. The great thing about sticking to one cruise line and building up loyalty points with that cruise line is, whilst it may not lead to free cruises, it will give you lots of benefits that will save you a lot of money anyway. So you'll get things like free laundry, free Wi-Fi, some specialty dining, prior to embarkation, disembarkation, no matter grade you're in. It will give you all sorts of benefits and perks that certainly will reduce the cost of cruising. So whilst it doesn't necessarily give you a free cruise, it will significantly reduce the cost of cruising. My next tip, and one of the easiest of all, is competitions. There are a huge amount of competitions running at any one point in time in pretty much every single major cruising country which offers free cruises. If you go to a search engine and put in cruise competitions, it will throw up many, many competitions. There's a surprisingly large amount of competitions offering cruises as a prize. The other thing to do is to look out for 2-for-1 cruises. So this certainly will mean that certainly one of the party of you cruising, if you're cruising as a couple or with a friend, will get a free cruise. Whilst these are not very common, there are a couple of cruise lines that use them quite a lot. Again, you can just go online and search for 2-for-1 cruises, and it will throw up whatever's being offered at that time. So whilst it's not very common, they are offered at various points of the year, normally sort of out of season, but it's definitely a great way for a couple to at least get one of you to cruise for free. Related to that, my next tip is around children. If you're a family and you have kids, there are a number of cruise lines that let your kids cruise for free. The 2 most obvious examples are MSC Cruises, and the other one is Hapag-Lloyd at the other extreme. So MSC Cruises is a much more mass market value line. Hapag-Lloyd, certainly a very ultra luxury expensive line. Both of these have schemes where if your kids are cruising in the same cabin as you, they cruise for free. Now, they have different age limits of them. Some of them are 11 years old, some of them are a little bit older. But certainly if you're traveling as a family, take a look at cruise lines that will let your kids cruise for free. Now, my next tip is also a relatively easy one to do, and that's organize a group. Now, pretty much every cruise line, whether it's an ocean cruise line or a river cruise line, will offer free berths and certainly free cabins if you can get together a group of people. So particularly if you want to travel with a group of friends, or you're perhaps a member of a club or a society, or even if it's just on an extended family cruise. The way this normally works is if you book 16 people, i.e. 8 cabins, you'll normally get a cabin for free. Now, it does differ a little bit by cruise line, but pretty much for every 8 cabins, you will get 1 cabin free. So all you have to do is get together 8 couples, friends, or from your club or society, and you will get a free cruise. Now, you can either do that through a travel agent, or what I recommend also is you talk directly to the cruise company. So even if you have a relatively small club or society, what I would recommend you do is take a look for themed cruises, and you're probably going to find that your club or society members will be really interested in doing that. So particularly if you have a big extended family, it's a great way of getting a free cabin for yourself and your partner, bearing in mind that the rest of the people in the party will not be paying anything more. All you perhaps have to do is do a little bit of organization, or perhaps on board organize a few activities. So it's not a lot of work for a free cruise. My next tip on getting a free cruise is to take a look for cruise line companies that have credit cards. This certainly applies much more in the US at the moment than other countries, but many of the cruise line companies have a credit card, and for every dollar that you spend, you amass points, which you can then use to redeem either for onboard credit, onboard activities, discounts on cruises, and of course, ultimately, completely for a free cruise. So if you put all of your spend on everything you do through that credit card, it's surprisingly how quickly the points mount up, and that could lead to a free cruise. Now, at the time of recording, I could find credit cards for Carnival Cruise Lines, Disney Cruise Line, Norwegian Cruise Line, Princess Cruises, Holland America, and Royal Caribbean. And literally by just putting, every time you spend something, put it through on that credit card, points will amass, and you will soon find yourself on your way to certainly free nights, discounts, and hopefully a free cruise in its entirety. Another great way of getting a free cruise is actually when you're on board, take a look at bingo and find out what the prize is. Now, a lot of cruise lines have a free cruise as their ultimate prize in bingo. On many cruise lines, the big prize on the last day is a cruise lasting normally around about 7 nights for 2 people. So of course that's a game of chance, and you may not approve of a game of chances, but it's certainly definitely a way that you could find yourself on a free cruise, because somebody has to win that cruise. Cruising for free is certainly very possible. Whilst there are some more extreme ways of doing it, where you become a crew member, or you become sort of guest entertainer, or you run workshops on board or give talks. But there are very practical things you can do, whether it's being loyal to a cruise line, having a cruise line credit card, or being very clever about looking for competitions or 2-for-1 deals, or cruise lines if you have kids that let kids cruise for free. Hopefully you found that helpful, and it's given you some ideas on how you can get a cheaper or free cruise. I'd love it if you watched many more of my Tips for Travelers videos, because I will give you more inspiration, advice, and tips on how to maximize and make the most use of your very precious travel time and money, both on land and of course very importantly at sea.